Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. This is Kyra and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this tea time themed gift folio using the new Shabby Happy Mail folio in our shop. My mother, Stephanie, just did a tutorial on how to make the base folio, so if you haven't seen that, I will go ahead and link that in the description box so that you can figure out how to actually put the base folio together. And the base folio is only like a 1/4 inch thick, so we're going to be creating a journal that goes inside of it using some of the pages from the Tea Time journal kit. Again, I will link that down below, as well as adding a couple of ephemera pieces, including some of these recipe cards and like ephemera tags. I will link all of the kits used down in the description box, but feel free to use any kits or ephemera you have on hand already. But I'm going to be using tea themed ones since tea is kind of what I'm centering the whole journal around. So I've got some tea bags and all sorts of goodies we're going to be using today when we decorate. All right, so jumping right in to making the actual journal that's going inside, you can see I printed out my pages on just regular paper front and back. I printed with lined and decorative pages from this kit. I just liked this kit, thought it went well with the papers that are already on the base folio. And I just folded them into one another, went over them with a bone folder to keep them thin as possible since we don't have a lot of room to play with here. And I'm going to be using a little bit of this coffee dyed paper as well, just a single sheet of it to kind of make a cover for it. Now I did trim this piece of paper down just a little bit to fit inside, and you can always, double check and make sure your pages are going to fit by just kind of laying them inside of the folio and seeing if you need to trim off any extra. So I went ahead and just trimmed mine down just a little bit to make sure it would fit inside. Now this folio is about 8.5 by 11, so it should fit most pieces of paper. You might just have to trim off just a little bit to get it to fit. But once you've gone ahead and done that, we can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is going to be some decorating. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this card that comes with the kit. I printed it on cardstock, but you could print it on paper. And I'm just going to cut out 1/2 of it to use as kind of like a cover image for my little journal here. And I'm using this corner rounding punch on the largest setting to just round those corners and make everything look even again. And for some further distressing, I've got this little Tim Holtz distressing blade. We have this linked in our Amazon shop where we have like an affiliate link for different items that we use frequently. So I will link that down below if you're interested. And this just kind of gives this a little bit more texture, a bit of a rougher edge, just distresses it a little bit. And I'm going to go over this with a bit of distress ink as well. Again, Tim Holtz distress ink in the color Vintage Photo. And I'm doing this because we can't really tea dye papers that we've printed on because the printed inks will run. So that's kind of an easier way to kind of get that look is just to use a little bit of distress ink. And I went ahead and used that on the cover panel as well, just to keep things cohesive. But I am going to go a little bit further and do a bit of distressing here. I'm going to use a little bit of tea. You could use coffee. Typically you want it to be really dark to stain. So I'm going to actually save some time and just cheat a little bit by using a bit of acrylic paint. I've got this paint here in the color Nutmeg Brown. And I'm just going to add a little bit of it to my tea water here and just mix it up with a paintbrush until it is nice and smooth. And this is going to kind of darken that color and give us a darker stain so it's a little bit more noticeable. And now you can go ahead and start distressing by making splatters, or like I'm using this little jar lid here to make kind of like faux cup rings, that you might get on a stain if you like leave your cup on a piece of paper or something like that. And you can create little drips or anything you want to kind of distress your pages however you would like, and then you just let that dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue down this panel to my front cover, remove the pages from inside, and begin doing a little bit of distressing. I'm keeping this little napkin here to make cleanup a bit easier. And I'm just going to go through and, add some speckles, some drips, some rings, wherever I feel like they look nice. A little tip here is if you want to, you can trail your brush down the paper and your drips will actually follow that trail, so you can kind of have a little bit more control over where the drips go, and just kind of going over them a couple times will make the stains a bit darker. Now, I don't want them too dark because I want it to look like a tea stain, so I'm kind of just keeping things light here, just having fun with it, not thinking too much. And you can see here where the water goes, there is a bit of that like blurring effect as the inks bleed. So again, you don't want to go too heavy with this, otherwise it'll kind of ruin your image. All right, next I'm going to create some inner panels for my journal cover here. So I'm just taking this pretty paper. I believe this is from the recent, the Shabby Victorian scrap pack. And I'm just going to cut out a couple of panels a little bit smaller than my cover so it has a border. Go over it with some distress ink, glue them in, try to keep them even. And then we can just slide our pages in, and now we've got kind of the base for our journal. So the last thing to do is to bind it. So you can use any binding method you want. We have some recent tutorials where we did brad binding, or like a tab binding method. There's a bunch of different ways to bind your journal together. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little pamphlet stitch here. So I'm gonna get my pages nice and even, clip them so that they don't move around. And then I'm going to use a bookbinding kit that we have on Amazon. Again, you can find that in our links down below. And it comes with some waxed thread, an awl, a needle. And I'm going to use the awl to poke like a hole right in the center of my journal. So like open it up to the center page and then poke it through the spine. And we're going to add a hole towards the top and the bottom. You don't want to be too close to the edge, otherwise your journal could tear. So make sure that you kind of give yourself maybe, you know, like half an inch there. And then taking the waxed thread, I'm going to go about 3.5 times the length of my book, and that's going to give me plenty of thread to work with here. I'd rather have too much than too little. And you don't have to use waxed thread. You can use any kind of thread that you have on hand. This is just what comes with the bookbinding kit. And when threading it through the needle, you want to have one shorter piece and then one long piece, okay? Just like this. And we're going to start with that center hole that we punched, and we're going to go from the inside out. Pull it through. And you're going to want to pull this through until that longer tail has left just a little bit inside like this. And I like to clip mine down because if you pull this part through, you'll have to start over. So I'm just going to clip that down like this and continue on with my stitch. This is a really fast stitch, so we're going to move through to the top hole here. So now that we're on the outside, we're coming in. Make sure all your pages are lined up like that. And now we're going to go down to that bottom hole and do the same thing. Just poke your needle through like this. And to finish it up, we're going to come back through that center hole. Right? Just like so. Poke it through. And you can go ahead and pull it through and then get rid of your needle and your clip. And that's going to give you these two ends that are kind of just hanging here loosely. And the important thing to note is that you want these to be on either side of this center string here. And you want the center string to be on top, okay? Go ahead and take those two loose ends, give them a nice tug, make sure everything's tight. And then go ahead and tie a knot over the top of that center thread. I like to double tie mine just to make sure that nothing falls out. And you can cut these ends off or leave them dangling. I'm gonna go ahead and just tie mine into a little bow here. And there you go. Now your journal is stitched and bound, and it looks something like this on the outside. You could add some lace here to cover that up if you want to, like over the edge of your spine. I'm just gonna leave mine as is, and now my pages are bound. And you can double check, make sure that it's not too thick. Mine's actually kind of thin. I could probably add a couple more pages if I wanted to, but I'm going to leave it as is. And now that I've kind of got that all done, you can go ahead and add it to your book. You can just, or not your book, sorry, your Happy Mail folio. And you could just lay it in there or use some Velcro dots. I'm going to glue mine in just to make sure it stays in place. All right. And now we can go ahead and begin decorating. So I'm going to start with the outside here. I'm going to be using some of the Happy Mail fussy cuts as well as a couple of ephemera pieces. These are from the Everything ephemera pack, which I love. It really does have everything inside of it. So I just grabbed a couple of relevant pieces and I'm going to just kind of start gluing things where I think they look nice, maybe add a little bit of ribbon and some of the journal words that come with the kit, and maybe a few buttons here and there, and just kind of start decorating. Feel free to just kind of freehand this and do whatever you want. Decorate however you like. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here. If you don't have buttons or you don't have distress ink, that's fine. You can just use whatever you have on hand, any kits that you have on hand, any ephemera you have on hand. Or you can also go ahead and just follow along here and do what I'm doing. I do have a couple of extra pieces, like these stamps are from a very old kit we have. These are our bee stamps. I found them in my scrap box, so I'm going to be adding a few of those as well. And, you know, just kind of gluing things down where I think they look nice. All right, so feel free to kind of follow along here or skip ahead if you want to. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave my front cover blank. I kind of like the way that it looks just as is. If you want to decorate yours, you can. Now I'm going to move on to adding my tea bags into my Happy Mail folio. Now you can just take your tea bags out of their package or leave them in their package and just, you know, tuck them into the pockets as is. Or if you want to, we actually have some of these tea bag envelopes that we have in our shop. And these are made specifically for tea bags. You kind of just add them inside of here and it kind of gives them like a cuter sort of case to kind of protect the tea bag and, you know, match your kit and make things just look a little bit nicer. So that's what I'm going to be using for mine. So I'm just going to tuck the tea bag into this little, you know, pocket for it here, and then just fold it up and glue it shut. And you can leave the little tab out if you want to, which is what I'm going to do, but I don't really like the ones that come with it. I just don't think they really match. So I'm going to use the ones that come with the tea bag envelopes and make my own so that things just look a little bit nicer, a little bit more matchy-matchy. So I'm going to cut those out, add some glue to the back, and then glue them together, sort of sandwiching the string between them. Trim off any extra string that I don't want showing. And there you go. Now you have a personalized little tab for your little tea bags here. And this might be nice if you make your own tea bags, like your own tea blends. You could kind of, you know, make them a little more decorative and, you know, add like a little packet for them, which could be really cute. And then you can just tuck it into your pocket like this. And I didn't want my tea bag like tab just kind of swinging around in the envelope. So I'm gonna take this little scrap piece of paper. This is also from the Shabby Victorian scrap pack. And I'm using this 1.5 inch punch to kind of punch out just a little circle here. And I'm gonna use some scissors to cut mine in half and then go over the edges with a bit of distress ink. And then I'm going to glue it down along with a little bit of ribbon just to make the pocket look a little bit more decorative. And now you can, you know, add a little bit of glue as close to the edge as possible. And that's going to give you like this little pocket for your little tea bag tab. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and take my other tea bags and my other tea envelopes, and I'm going to do that for the rest of my tea. All right, so when they're done, they look a little bit something like this. You can use various papers and ribbons to decorate to your heart's desire. I did have a couple of my little tea envelopes left, so I'm just going to tuck those into one of the pockets. And for some further decorating, I decided to kind of add another layer to these pockets here. So taking one of my scrap piece of papers, I'm just going to kind of line it up with my pocket and tear from the top corner down to the bottom corner, just like this. And then I'm going to trim off a little bit of extra, going over it with my corner rounding punch to make it kind of match the shape of the pockets better. And then go over that with a bit of distress ink just on the straight edges, not the torn edge. And then again, going over the straight edges with a little bit of glue. And this is Fabri-Tac glue, by the way, if anyone's interested. We like it because it's non-water based and won't wrinkle your paper. And those are going to just give us some extra little layers to our pockets. And next I've got these little recipe cards here. Again, I will have this link down below. And I just thought these would be nice for anyone who makes their own tea blends. You could write, you know, which ingredients go in them, the name of your tea blend, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to just tuck those into one of the pockets. And for these smaller pockets, I'm going to be using some of these thinner, taller ephemera pieces from the kit, since the wider ones don't really fit in the pockets with the tea bags already in them. So I'm just going to stick to these taller, thinner pieces. And it comes with these tags, which I'm going to punch out the hole punch at the top, go over them with some distress ink, add a ribbon, and just go ahead and slide those into my pockets just like this. Nothing too crazy, keeping it kind of simple today. And I've got these tickets as well that I'm also going to tuck into the pocket. I just kind of cut them up. They came with the kit. Just kind of for some extra layers and ephemera, you know. Who doesn't want tea and ephemera as a gift? I do. So for further decorating, again, simple things, just some ribbon, some of these faux stamps. I was too lazy to print out 2 matching pages, so I'm just finding some that kind of are close enough. And I'm going to glue those down along with this ephemera piece, went over it with some distress ink and just glued it down like this. And then I'm using some cheesecloth and a couple of stamps from various kits to decorate these layered pockets here. Really quick, really snappy decorating. You can go, you know, a lot further with this if you want. This is just how I'm doing it today. And then for those larger ephemera pieces, again, you can just tuck those into these wider pockets because they will fit into those. And then I decided I wanted to do just a little bit of decorating on the inside cover. So I'm taking some of these faded photos. And these are from the SHABBY typewriter pocket journal kit, but we have lots of faded photos in the shop, so you could choose any of the ones that suit you best. And then I'm just taking a little bit of ribbon and some of these tea journal words that came with the kit, just to kind of do a little bit of light decorating. All right, and that is going to finish up the decorating. Now, I did notice that with the tea bags in this very top sort of fold here, it did kind of make it pop up. So you could replace that with some flatter ephemera if you want to avoid that, or you can just tie it closed with a ribbon, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just taking a long piece of this sort of like pink checkered ribbon here, and I'm just kind of tying it around the full folio like this. And I'm just gonna tie it into a little bow, just like that. And there you go. Now we can go ahead and do a little flip through of the final folio, this tea time gift folio. And you know, that's kind of the purpose of this. You could just make this for yourself as well, just kind of like a fun little thing. If you're somebody who enjoys tea, which is my preferred drink, I'm more of a tea person. I don't really like coffee. So, you know, if you know somebody who enjoys tea or enjoys making their own tea, this could be fun to maybe give along with like a set of like loose leaf teas or something like that. Somebody who likes to journal, they can kind of use the ephemera up as well as the tea bags up. They can keep track of their recipes, their thoughts, what they like, what they don't like, how long to steep their teas, all sorts of information. It's just kind of like a fun little project, you know, that you could do in an afternoon, just to make something nice to tell someone that you're thinking about them and you care about them, and, you know, just a lovely little thing. Alright, so that is going to finish up today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and crafting along with me. I had a lot of fun with this. It was kind of just a nice laid-back project, which is, you know, something I could really use right now. So thanks so much for joining me with this, and I can't wait to see you in the next tutorial. Bye!